former Dallas Maverick, Tim Legler. Tim, what's going on?
What's up, gentlemen? How's it going, man? You guys got to be feeling pretty good about what happened with that lottery, huh?
We are feeling pretty good about it. We're going to get into
best week of our lives, Tim.
That's right.
As it should be. That's justified description.
Okay, so let's get into it since we're there already when it comes to Cooper Flagg. If you could describe the Mavericks season in one word throughout all of the changes, the trade, the injuries, and then culminating with them winning the #1 overall pick, what would that word be to describe the Mavericks season?
Oh, man, I guess it would be rejuvenation, right? Because they were everything that happened, man, with it, when that trade went down, and what a gut punch it was to the fan base, to the city. And then, you think, well, at least let's take a look at some point at what Anthony Davis looks like with Kyrie. And, we can maybe get over it if we start winning with those two guys. And Anthony Davis gets hurt immediately. Time he comes back, Kyrie is done for the year and a good majority of next year, most likely. That never came to fruition. We don't know. So the trade itself, everybody pretty much knows how I felt about the trade at the time. I haven't really changed my opinion despite what happened with the Lakers. I think though, if you're being fair, you can't judge a trade until you're a few years removed from it. That's the only fair way to do it, because I think teams involved in trades look at much more than just this. Unless you're getting a guy that's like expiring contract, that's a star, and you're trying to win a title like that year, and then the guy leaves. Yeah, then you could judge it immediately. But that's not what this was. This is more about what it's going to be in the future. You can't judge it. We never got a chance to see what it looks like for Dallas. Small sample size for the Lakers. I don't think that was really necessarily that telling. So it comes down to this, the lottery, and shocking the world by getting the #1 pick in a draft. That is as clear-cut #1 pick as any you're going to find. And they have a generational talent coming in if they keep the pick and draft Cooper Flagg, which I would be, to me, insane not to. I could go on for, a entire hour-long show about Cooper Flagg and how long I've been watching him and what it is he's going to bring. He's a can't-miss star, and he's going to be immediately a guy that helps. Like, from day one, he will be on the court, and he will be helping the Dallas Mavericks win.
Yeah, and it's the best thing that could have happened to the Dallas franchise. Obviously, no way to plan it, no way to have any idea that this is how it was going to go down. But what we've been debating on the show for 2 weeks now, 3 weeks now, however long ago it was, is just how do you go forward? What is the right way? What is the right path? What does the roster look like? Anthony Davis was not traded for thinking that Dallas had Cooper Flagg, who I think can play 3, can play 2, can play 5. Can play 4 though. Like if you look at the modern NBA, most players like Cooper Flagg usually play the 4. And Anthony Davis, who has always been best throughout his career at the 5, is somebody who also wants to play the 4. They're both kind of these really high level help side defenders, roaming defenders, who want those roles. They want to be helping off. They want to be the base of the defense, not the top of the defense. So just initial reactions with PJ Washington, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford. That's a big front court. Might be too many names. What's your gut, first reaction of how, if you were in charge of this team, you would go around building for the future?
Well, I look at it like this: if you're first of all completely married to the idea that Anthony Davis, for whatever reason, does not want to play 5, like it matters to him to have a more traditional center on the court with him, so he can be, called a 4. Like that matters that much to him, and it's been made a big deal about that throughout his career. If that's the case, and you believe you need to make sure that happens, so let's just assume you're going to have a 5 on the court with him. Not the entire game. I think he's comfortable playing X amount of minutes per half at the 5, but at the start of each game, and probably the majority of his minutes, he wants a 5 next to him. If that's the case, and you're going to proceed with that mentality, then Cooper Flagg needs to be your starting 3. And, whether that's from day one or not remains to be seen, I guess, once he gets into camp and how comfortable he gets and how quickly. I personally think day one, you could drop him down on an NBA floor and he's going to be a very productive player because of his motor, his defensive prowess, his versatility defensively, his passing, and it's just athleticism. Like, he can hang now. And so if you got him at the 3, AD at the 4, Gafford Lively at the 5, that is elite level frontline defense. Now, offensively, Cooper Flagg, you'd love the 3 to be more get alongside Anthony Davis and a rim running center. You would love to have a 3 that can be comfortable out to 24 feet on a catch and shoots and also get his own shot out to 24 feet off the dribble. Right now, he's got, I think, some mechanical issues that he's got to iron out to get to that level. He can make 3-point college shots, and he did enough. That wasn't really his strength, and I don't think the percentage was nearly good enough for how good I think it can be, but it's not going to fix itself. I think he needs to work on some of his mechanics with his release. His handle is good enough. His athleticism is good enough to get that shot. And you're going to need that guy in that spot to be able to make threes if you got AD and a big on the court with him. It's that simple. So I think he's a starting player for you. That means that he's going to have to work really hard this summer to improve his long-term his long-distance efficiency, because I don't think it's going to be there right away, and that could create some offensive spacing problems for the Mavericks.
Legs, we've been told many, many, many countless times by Nico Harrison that defense wins championships. Now, Cooper Flagg is only 18. He's got a very, very, very long career ahead of him. But we're all of the opinion right now that you can drop him onto a court and he can defend at least 3 positions, if not 4, if not all 5. Long term, what kind of upside does he have as a defender? Is this like an all-defense kind of guy? Is this like a defensive player of the year kind of guy? Or are we getting carried away by even thinking about that at this point?
No, I don't think you are at all. And I think let's start with, I think you got to see a little bit of a sample size to start talking defensive player of the year down the road. Like, I've looked at Amen Thompson enough to know now after 2 years, that's what his future looks like. He's going to be a perennial all-league defender, and he's going to eventually be a defensive player of the year. You got to wait and see it at the NBA level. I think right off the bat, maybe not his rookie year, but starting like year 2, I think he can be in that same category as Amen Thompson in terms of a guy that's potentially an all-league defender. Like, pretty quickly he'll get there. Defensive player of the year, that's another tier, another level to get to down the road. But I think clearly that's the vein with which I see him. And the reason is because, number one, he's got about as much want to for a wing that's a high-profile wing as anybody I've seen coming into the league as far as want-to defender. He loves it. And if that's the first thing that stood out to me when I started hearing about him in the AAU circuit. He started to become like mythical, like the Cooper Flagg name. I start hearing, I'm really tied into guys in that community, so I would hear the name at a young age. And I saw him at 15, and I was like, I could take this guy tomorrow, put him on the court as a starter in a Power 5 conference in college, and the dude is going to hold his own at 15 because of how hard he plays, how much he wants it, the edge he's got. He's tough. He doesn't back down from anybody. And then the skill was there, the bounce, the athleticism, running the floor, handling it. His passing is very underrated. I think people started to appreciate it more as their tournament run went on at Duke. The guy's a hell of a playmaker. The shooting is probably, of all the things right now, it's probably the weak point of his game. I think the perimeter shot, and that's got to improve. The rest of it's there. The intangibles are there. I think it's a can't miss, and I think most coaches in the NBA feel the same way. That's why it was frustrating for a lot of guys in the West to see him go to the West. Like, you're thinking, if you're one of those teams in the Western Conference, you're thinking, well, if we don't get him, at least, let him end up in Washington or Charlotte or Toronto or one of those teams. And instead, he's right in the mix with a team that I think is going to be very relevant next year in the Western Conference. So the West just got better.
Well, now I feel even better.
Exactly. No, we feel
let's go.
Really good about the upside for Cooper Flagg. When you look at not just the skill set that he presents, your time in the league and playing against a lot of tremendous defenders and offensive players, what would be your best comp when it comes to Cooper Flagg, given the height, the weight, the skill set that he presents, that you look at and say his game is comparable to this particular player that you look at? A
little bit of Franz Wagner, I think, in him. A guy that's 6'10", that's got a similar physical profile, that's good athleticism and a really high motor, doesn't quit on plays. He might be quicker laterally than Franz Wagner right now to switch out onto guards and high-level ball handlers that can change direction. Like, that's a different level of defensive prowess. The one thing I'll say, and you had mentioned you think he can guard 3 positions, 3, 4, 5. The reason I think he can guard a lot of 2s is because the nature of the position has changed to such an extent that most of those guys are 3-point shot hunters. And they're not as creative in breaking you down off the dribble by, shifting weight and getting you off balance and going by you. They're looking to hunt step back threes. They're looking at catch and shoot threes. Like, that's the nature of the position now. That's going to be easier for Cooper Flagg to guard even that position. Point guards, it's a little different because of the number of ball screens they get. It's a lot of ball screen action you've got to guard, and most of those are switched. So I don't even know how much, all of that ball screen is going to matter that Cooper Flagg's on somebody that's a high-level player, because of one ball screen and he hands them off to somebody else. Where it comes into play, his impact, is the number of guys he can switch onto in a given possession and the amount of ground he covers as a weak side defender. Like, that backside defense and that weak side coverage, the amount of ground those guys can cover as a help defender, but also closeout length, that is where you're going to notice a tangible difference. And when you put him on the court at the same time with Anthony Davis, those are 2 guys that check that box, man. They can provide help as a rim deterrent, but they also have the length and want to get out and contest 3-point shots. It could be really special.
Yeah,
that
Derek Lively.
That part's really important, the closeout part.
Yeah, Derek Lively is another one of those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he just plays right into that.
Yeah. It's super important, too, Legs, because the Mavs right now, like, we all kind of agree, offensively they need some more playmaking, but defensively they need a lot of help at the point of attack. And I don't know if Flagg is just that guy right now. And anyway, there's so many switches and so many mismatch hunting in the NBA going on that it's hard to even have just one of those guys and be okay. But having AD and Flagg, who can both kind of swoop in and then also close out and help, should help kind of cover up that weakness. But do you agree, if the Mavs have enough ammo to make, let's say, one big swing this summer to try and cover up for Kyrie's absence and make a run at it next year, is that the thing they should be targeting? And if not, what is the thing that the Mavs should be looking to improve at?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, as an insurance policy for now, I mean, everybody expects Kyrie to come back from this. The time frame I've heard was kind of surprising. I thought it was a little bit short time frame for a guy of that caliber. That's on the shorter end of what I've heard, for an injury like that. I got experience. I got a matching set of ACL reconstruction. So I'm kind of, it's different though. Obviously the surgery itself, procedure is less invasive. The rehab is much better from it. I get all of that stuff. It still seems kind of short for me to think about him coming back February. It seems like maybe later. So you're talking about, most of next season, not getting a lot of time under his belt and then getting ready for the most intense part of the year. And we all know typically ACLs, Achilles, those are typically the following season when you start to see guys look normal again. So yeah, as an insurance policy, another ball handling, scoring type of guard, yeah, I mean, those guys don't fall off trees. I mean, if you have one that's good, as long as he's not a narcissist, usually you want to keep those guys. So I'm not sure, who that could possibly be. I haven't started thinking about teams yet, how they're going to rebuild, because I'm still finishing this season with these final 4 teams. But yeah, I think as an insurance policy for next year and beyond, getting some help there would be good for them, because they are a little bit thin in that regard.
Tim, this was tremendous stuff. We have enjoyed your work throughout the course of the year, obviously covering the games and calling the games throughout the NBA playoffs as well. And, of course, doing your thing with Adam Mars on the All-NBA podcast. We appreciate you taking out some time with us here on the DLS Mavs podcast, sir, and we'll talk to you next time. We appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.